I think people first have to recognize the level he's been at, which is last year he was statistically one of the very best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. I think he could be an MVP candidate if they win enough games.
When you think of MVP candidates, you automatically think of players like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and even Saquon Barkley. How is it possible that a quarterback who was traded for a conditional day 3 pick just a few years ago now has a legitimate case for MVP? The career of Baker Mayfield was, for a time, treated as a sunk cost. A former #1 pick who found himself on 3 different rosters in a single calendar year. But since arriving in Tampa Bay, the performance has become disconnected from the perception. And after 2 seasons of legitimately elite production, we have to ask a question that would have been unthinkable just 24 months ago. Is Baker Mayfield an actual MVP candidate? A quarterback has thrown for over 8,500 yards and accounted for 81 total touchdowns in his last 2 seasons. And yet, he's still considered a long shot for the league's most prestigious individual award. Baker Mayfield hasn't just revived his career in Tampa Bay, he's quietly constructed a resume that demands to be taken seriously. The betting markets may label him as a dark horse, but the production, the film, and the underlying data tell an entirely different story. So today, we're going to examine the case for Baker Mayfield as the MVP contender that almost no one is acknowledging.
I love what I've seen from Baker.
Mayfield at the 5, trying to get in, and he does!
He has a home here. He's comfortable here.
How did he just stiff-arm Nick Bosa?
He was a #1 pick in the draft, and he has that capability, but he is a Super Bowl, quarterback.
To understand the argument for Mayfield, you first have to look at the numbers he's produced since signing with what essentially was a 1-year prove-it deal with the Buccaneers. The expectations were minimal. He was a reclamation project tasked with replacing Tom Brady. And in his first year, he exceeded all of them, leading the Bucs to a division title while throwing for over 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. But it was his 2024 season that elevated him into a different statistical class. Mayfield posted career highs across the board, 4,500 passing yards, a remarkable 41 touchdowns, and a 71.4 completion rate. And this is where the context becomes critical. With that season, Mayfield became only the 4th quarterback in NFL history to post a stat line of 4,000 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, and a 70% completion rate. The only other 3 quarterbacks to ever achieve that are Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Joe Burrow. That is not just good company. It is a list of some of the most efficient passes in the history of the sport. He finished 2024 ranked 2nd in the league in passing touchdowns, 3rd in passing yards, and 4th in passer rating. This isn't the profile of a game manager. This is the statistical output of a quarterback playing at an MVP caliber level, leading an offense that finished 4th in the NFL in scoring. The narrative of Baker Mayfield as a mid-tier starter is officially outdated. What the box score doesn't show is Mayfield's effect on the franchise's culture. For a team that had to move on from Tom Brady, Mayfield's authenticity and swagger have been the exact right fit, giving the Buccaneers a new identity. He plays with a visible competitive fire that his teammates seem to feed off of. He is, by all accounts, the operational center of the team. And Mayfield's production has been amplified by an offensive environment in Tampa Bay that is perfectly suited to his talents. Last season, the Buccaneers' offensive line ranked 3rd in pass blocking, according to Pro Football Focus, and their collection of skilled players graded out in the top 6. That is an ideal foundation for any quarterback. He has the benefit of throwing to a future Hall of Fame receiver in Mike Evans and one of the league's most reliable possession targets in Chris Godwin. tight end K. Oten has also become an indispensable piece of the offense, and the front office has shown a commitment to keeping its arsenal stocked, consistently adding weapons to the offensive side of the ball. Ultimately, an MVP campaign is built on winning. Individual statistics are not enough. They have to translate to team success. The perception of Baker Mayfield has been slow to catch up to the on-field reality. This is no longer a comeback story. It is the story of one of the most productive quarterbacks in the entire league. Over the last 2 seasons, he has produced elite, historically efficient numbers, taken ownership of a franchise, and won football games. The odds may still define him as a dark horse, but the evidence suggests he's a legitimate contender. He has the statistical resume, the supporting cast, and the institutional support. The only remaining question is whether the voters are prepared to abandon an old narrative and acknowledge the quarterback he has become. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.